Welcome to the Overwhelm is Optional podcast, where each week we find ways to gently rebel against the nonsense that overwhelm and exhaustion are just the price you pay to have the life you want. Hello, whose side are you on? Are you your biggest cheerleader? Now, when I work with people, I temporarily become their biggest cheerleader to model that for them, because it's something we either don't have because it wasn't something we were taught to do. In fact, particularly here in the UK, we're not good at cheerleading ourselves because we're taught that it's just not a good thing. It's a bit arrogant. It's a bit, oh, look at you cheering yourself on. Whereas I know in different countries, it's more common to be on your own side more overtly. So even if you're not your biggest cheerleader in a really obvious way, because that can be quite a big step to just go all in and say, yay me, and scoop yourself off the floor when you're feeling down. And, you can imagine what that would be like if you were your own biggest cheerleader. It would stop you doing the abusive things we do when we're overwhelmed, like pushing ourselves too hard, forcing ourselves to think even though our brain is completely clogged up. And it would actually be much kinder and also more productive if we dealt with the overwhelm first. But that's a high level skill, and it can take some time to realize that actually we can do that. But in order to commit to doing that, we have to step into that whose side am I on, and switching sides into, no, I can live without overwhelm. I don't have to push myself to the limit. In actual fact, it's pointless because it just costs too much. So when we push ourselves too hard, it's then harder to keep going in that vein. So it works for a while and then it just doesn't work anymore. And then we get into this overwhelm struggle, pushing through overwhelm, not being as effective, not being very happy, and there's that horrible spiral, which I call surfing the verge of burnout. Not everybody's going to burn out. This is the thing, and in a way that's kind of a problem, because if you're not going to burn out, you're just going to waste years and years of your life struggling with not quite having the life you intended to live, and that's just rubbish. And not that I'd recommend burnout ever. And if you feel like you're on that route, then it's time to do something about it, because it is really costly. But we're not talking about burnout here. We're talking about day to day surfing that verge because we're not on our own side, because we don't think we can be, because we think we have no choice, because we just have no idea what's going on, because we're overwhelmed, not because we're stupid. You're not stupid. You know all of the things that you could be doing to look after yourself better, but they just add to your overwhelm. They just add to your to-do list, and they particularly add to your invisible get better at list. This constant self-improvement. I should be better at self-care. So it's easier to turn that around and say, well, self-care is just being on my own side. It's not a list of things to do. It's not a list of things to get better at. It is being on my own side. It is choosing myself first. So when I say, are you on your own side? You don't have to go all in, although I highly recommend it for fun. When you're ready, go all in as your biggest cheerleader. So that means that when you get that self-talk that says, well, that was rubbish, you're able to turn that around and say, excuse me, don't you speak to me like that, and have that kind of jokey conversation with your brain. But that's hard. But just starting from the very beginning, whose side are you on? Are you on your own side, or are you working against yourself? Because each time we push through overwhelm, I would argue that we are working against ourselves, because we're not working for ourselves. We're not being kind. It's cruel. When I look back and think of all the times I did it, because I didn't know what I know now, I thought I didn't have any choice, and I knew it was costing me. I mean, my brain used to feel like mush at the end of the day, but I got a lot done, and I was celebrating that. Oh my goodness, that sounds awful now, doesn't it? But we do, right? The days we hold everything together and get through really difficult days, we celebrate that. But there's an easier way to do it, and starting by asking the question, whose side are you on? Are you on your own side first? So looking after yourself first before anything else, that's when things start to change. So I'm going to ask you again, whose side are you on? Are you really on your own side? Or are you making excuses? Are you doing well, I can handle it, the other person can't? It's only temporary. It doesn't matter. I can cope. I'll recover then. I don't have any choice. I have to behave in this way towards myself. It's worth considering all these things, and it's also worth considering in a moment by moment thing. So if you catch yourself thinking, oh my goodness, I can't think straight, I'm just like completely overwhelmed, whose side are you on? In that moment, whose side are you on? Can you be on your own side? Can you be your own biggest cheerleader? Or can you just even be nice to yourself? Right, if you were on your own side, what would you do differently? What would you say to yourself right now? And this is really important. It's easy to think that the choice is between working hard, holding everything together so that you can have this full life, or having a less full life. And that's not true. It's the opposite. To have a full life, we have to be on our own side. By definition, to have your full life, you have to be on your own side. You have to know yourself, love yourself, accept yourself, and find your unique way of doing things. Otherwise, it's not a full life. It's just a life full of stuff to do. And there's a huge difference, isn't there? There's fulfillment, love, fun, joy, all the good stuff. And then there's the holding everything together, where a lot of the time our energy and our precious time and attention is going on avoiding future disaster, repairing damage from not doing things particularly well in the past, or just holding everything together rather than living. So in each moment, I invite you, or not in each moment, that's ridiculous. You can't do it in each moment. You've got stuff to do. You've got a life to live. But it's worth asking yourself, either first thing in the morning or at lunchtime, or just at any moment, just reminding, whose side am I on right now? Am I on my own side? Because if you're not on your own side, who's going to be? Sorry, I'm laughing because we are ridiculous. We are ridiculous that we push ourselves to burnout. We are ridiculous that we push ourselves to the point where we're so kind of exhausted and our skin's so thin that we just go home and we can't relax and we're grumpy with everyone. That's just not right. Nothing's worth doing that. There's no point. So I invite you this week, playfully, with curiosity, and with me cheerleading you on. Whose side are you on? I'll leave you there. Have a great week. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do take a little moment of your time to share it, like it, etc., to help other people find it. And if you'd like to know more about my work, please go to www.heidimark.co.uk.